All right, so just in case you didn't hear the notice on your side, we are recording this meeting and we are trying our hardest to keep everything on time. I'm very excited to have everyone here today, and we might be having people pop in over the next couple of minutes. I am going to be done talking within the next 8 minutes. Hi, everyone. I'm Juliana Robbins. I'm Library Programs Consultant for the California State Library. This is networking session 2 of the Sustainable California Libraries project. And if you could please go to the next slide, Holly. Today's agenda, we're going to have a quick intro and overview of the project. We're going to hear from Lawrence. We're going to hear from Sarah. We're going to have very fast wrap up of everything at the end. And the recording will be posted on our Sustainable California Libraries page. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to put a quote from one of my favorites, Dr. Jim Goodall, up on here as we got started as a big picture reminder of what we're aiming to do. Next slide, please. And I want to take this moment to also give a huge thank you to all of the members, including, unfortunately, we don't have a picture of Jessica, but she's so important. All of the members here of our advisory group, Claire, Stan, Sarah, Ben, Christopher, Jessica, Destiny, and Kimberly, who's writing our report. Thank you so much. I've really appreciated all of your input and willingness to share. And thank you for being here today. I saw a couple of you on the call. Next slide, please. Also, I want to invite everyone who's here to say hello in the chat. Feel free to use that chat function, say where you're zooming in from, your library system, and anything else about yourself that you'd like to share. And thanks again for being here. So we did a survey a couple of months ago. We sent it out to all of the library staff in California. And we wanted to gauge a couple of things. Sorry about that, my battery's running low. How important is the issue of sustainability to you and your community? As you can see on the upper left, very important was top, and then somewhat important. I also found it very interesting. I was just reading another survey result that came out just this month of 821 likely voters. And of those voters, you can kind of see on the graph to the right that climate and sustainability was the top above inflation, homelessness, crime, taxes, guns, cost of housing, and everything else. So this is very interesting to me. And you'll see in the little asterisk on the bottom that climate and environment combines those who rank climate, wildfires, droughts, or pollution among their top 3. So these issues are top in front of everyone's mind, important to our community members, important to us. Next slide, please. So this is where we are in the project process. We're still new, but we're moving ahead, and we're so excited to hopefully be able to share the grant funding opportunity in full-blown detail with you very soon. We did the survey to the field. We had 266 responses. We got so many comments. We've had the 2 networking sessions. The first is recorded and posted on the page. The second is today and will be recorded and posted on the page. We've had advisory group meetings, and those will continue. Kimberly is right now coming up with a report and an executive summary, just in case you can't have time to read the whole report. That's going to be shared on our website mid-July. And then the new funding opportunity that I alluded to before. Next slide, please. Our new funding opportunity. So we are giving libraries the opportunity to design programming and educational opportunities focused on sustainability and climate resilience. Of course, you're going to be working with community partners, community connections, and community members. The project minimum is $10,000. The project maximum is $30,000. The opportunity is going to be open any day now, but definitely by July 15th at the very latest. It will close at the end of August. The grant period runs from October of 2022 to June of 2023. As of today, the grant opportunity is live. Not the application yet, but the opportunity. Next page, please. So I just wanted to share a couple of more results and then I'm going to pass it over. So what is your library doing right now? We're all kind of doing the basics. We have, repair clinics, we're reusing, we're trying to reduce, not all of us, but a lot of us. We're doing community events on food waste. We're talking about compost. We're doing some drought tolerant. We may have a rain barrel. We're thinking about gardens and some of these other things we're also doing, but we're not all doing all of them. So we're all doing some, but we're not all doing all. Next slide, please. I just wanted to share this also because recently Project Drawdown, if you're not familiar, they have added, I believe, 9 more solutions to their table of solutions. I don't know about you, but I love a table of solutions. There are tons of things here and they look really big picture at the ways that libraries can help community members implement solutions, and that it's not only going to benefit and save the planet, but it's also going to increase equity and reduce poverty. Quick link to the table of solutions. Next slide, please. If you haven't had a chance, become very familiar with Callan Virus Screen. Is an amazing tool. It is linked from our page. It drills down to the census tract level. I grabbed a screenshot here of Long Beach. That's where I'm located, and it details all the ways different communities are pollution burdened, and also links that into bigger picture issues like poverty, unemployment, and health issues. It's a tool that I love. I recommend all the time. I hope you become intimately familiar with it. Oh, and I have 1 minute. Next slide, please. So what are the barriers that prevent your library from addressing sustainability? No surprise, lack of staff time. The world is short-staffed right now. And then financial barriers, which are also, I think, linked to the lack of staff time. Next slide, please. So here's one opportunity, I think, to start to break down those barriers. Has your library created any sustainability related partnerships? There's not a lot in the yes, and I think we're going to start moving, and we already are seeing many libraries moving that yes factor way over closer to the 100%. Next slide, please. And then, are you aware of any sustainability audits? Very few people are, and this webinar today and a lot of other initiatives that are happening across the state are a move in the right direction. Next slide, please. So today I am very excited to welcome Lawrence from the California Green Business Network, who is going to speak for about 15 minutes and answer 5 minutes of questions, and Sarah Solis from the San Diego County Library, who is going to speak for the 15 minutes after that. And then at the end, we will have about 5 minutes for a wrap up. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lawrence. Thank you, Holly.
Great. Hi, everyone. I think Holly is going to pop my slides up here on our screen. Let me know if that works, Holly. Great. And we can start with the first slide. Fantastic. Great. Well, hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today. My name is Lawrence Nussbaum, and I work with the California Green Business Network, where we help businesses and organizations across the state on their sustainability journey. So my goal today is to explain the Green Business Program briefly, describe how it works, some of the benefits, how we have worked with libraries throughout the state of California, and then take some time for your questions and comments. So next slide, please. So the Green Business Program is a collaboration between city, county, and state agencies and organizations that are trying to help meet state climate goals and other environmental goals, as well as trying to help businesses and organizations through this extraordinary difficult time. So what we do is provide free technical and financial assistance to small and medium-sized businesses and organizations. We offer an easy to use framework for doing so. We recognize and promote businesses and organizations for their green accomplishments. And we also provide a local green marketplace for consumers and employees and organizations to connect people that are interested in green issues and sustainability with those organizations and businesses that are committed to green business practices. So throughout the state of California, as you can see on the slide, we have over 4,500 businesses that are certified to date. We have a partnership with over 46 cities and counties. So these are individual green business programs throughout the state that are all collaborate under this California Green Business Network umbrella. Within these numbers of certified entities, we have certified over 25 libraries as part of our work. And I'll talk a little bit about where those libraries are and give and present a case study. Next slide, please. So with our expert support, we help businesses and organizations save water, energy, waste, and greenhouse gas emissions while also reducing pollution and expenses. Because we've worked with thousands of entities, we can help you think outside the box to tackle hard problems without using too much of your time or staff time. So what makes a green business? We look at a variety of different categories dealing with energy, water, waste, pollution prevention, transportation, wastewater, and greenhouse gas emissions and other related impacts. So for example, what makes a green business are things like reduced water use. So we're looking at low flow toilets, auto off faucets, drought tolerant plants, landscape materials that I just heard mentioned a moment ago. So various measures to reduce water. Conserve energy. Big one here is upgrading lighting and equipment to energy efficient alternatives to save energy. We promote commute sustainability, promoting and incentivizing alternative transportation for employees, in the case of a library for visitors. So, information about bus routes, bike racks out front, bike to work day support, those types of things. A green business prevents pollution by eliminating and properly disposing of harmful chemicals. A big piece of this is using non-toxic cleaners. So using safer, environmentally preferable cleaning chemicals to more toxic cleaning chemicals. Avoiding waste, so eliminating unnecessary printing, packaging and purchasing, recycling, your basic reduce, reuse, recycle, diverting waste from the landfill. And then we have a variety of community measures for supporting the local community, hiring local vendors, providing education opportunities, various ways that a green business can support their community. Next slide. So we keep track of all of this on our Green Biz Tracker. So this is our online database and tracking system that the certified entities or folks going through certification have access to. So you'll see on the left-hand side, we have all these categories of impact areas that I talked about: energy, pollution prevention, solid waste, transportation, wastewater, and water. And then within those categories, we have various measures. So our basic sort of office retail measure, which is the one we mostly use for libraries, has about 62 measures. And so this is an online self-assessment process where you can go through our Green Business Tracker and check off how you're doing. So for example, you'll see here under the energy, lighting and equipment subcategory, the measure listed here is use energy efficient lighting. So replace your halogen incandescent T12 sodium and metal halide lighting with LEDs. So here's the chance for you to check off that measure, and then you can enter what the lighting is that you have, enter some notes, and add any verification like a lighting retrofit upgrade that you had, and you could upload that right to the tracker. So we keep the metrics for all of these measures as we're collecting this through the Green Business Tracker. So this is set up as a sort of a self assessment checklist that we provide assistance to help you go through. So the first step is that you'd go through this tracker, you would assess how you're doing, how you measure up to these different measures, and then we would provide our in-person consultation to help you assess some of these measures that you weren't able to assess, and most importantly, figure out where to make changes, how to get the resources, providing technical expertise and know-how, and basically sort of help you go through this process to complete the Green Business Certification. Once you complete all these measures, we would then issue the certification recognition. Next slide, please. So the benefits of going through this program, and I'll speak specifically to libraries throughout my presentation, but just in general, we help businesses and organizations integrate sustainable practices into the operations without wasting your most precious resource, which is time. So we provide expert consultation. So it's basically a free consulting service to help you implement a green business / sustainability plan with our measures and the tracker I just shared as the guidance. We will provide up to 15 hours of our time and also material resources from waste and recycling, audits and assessment, to water conservation, energy, transportation, and other environmental experts that we bring to the table to help assess where improvements can be made. We're providing $500 incentives per entity to help cover the cost of environmental upgrades. So let's say you need to change out your cleaning products, or you need to switch over to recycled content paper, but there's increased costs, and we're all budget sensitive. We can help offset some of those costs. Now, this $500 incentive is just from our program, but we also help identify other incentives that are available from local jurisdictions, from local utilities, whether it's water savings incentives, like say for toilet or water fixture upgrades, or energy upgrades, or solar, et cetera. We help identify these incentives. And then finally, we help communicate your sustainability commitment and accomplishments to the public through our Green Business logo, through our online marketing platform, through the window decal that goes right up, on the door in the entrance to the library, through a certified certificate and plaque, and various other ways that we help you communicate your sustainability accomplishment. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have worked with a variety of libraries, like I said, over 25 libraries in the state so far. And I want to speak to one that I worked on in particular, which is the San Mateo County Library System. So this was an effort where we worked with the whole library system to get all their individual units certified. Now, we haven't completed it yet. There's more than that are on this list, but this is what we were able to get done so far. And the way this process worked is that we started with the library administration building. So let me just explain that certification is tied to a specific location, right? So we started with the admin building. And the reason we did that is because the functions that take place at the admin building and with the administration staff sort of centralized help inform how other libraries throughout their system will meet these measures. For example, things like procurement, right? So all of the office copy paper is ordered from the central library building. Other procurement practices, policies, et cetera. So we looked at the admin building first, and then we were able to go out to the branch libraries and have some of the measures already met because we dealt with them at kind of an admin level. So then when we looked at the other specific libraries, you'll see the Burlington Library, Half Moon Bay Library, San Carlos, Woodside, et cetera. We basically looked at the building footprint, so the lighting, the water fixtures, as well as some of the complications related to, say, procurement, because some of these libraries were actually located in buildings that were owned by city government. So in some cases, we can deal with the county library administration procurement. They order the toilet paper, and in some cases, it's actually a city facility. So we had to work with their facilities management team that may manage the landscape and other things associated with the building. So that's the way we approach the San Mateo County Library system, looking at it system-wide, starting with a central admin function, and then branching out to the individual units from there. Again, going through that checklist that I shared for each one of these specific units. Next slide, please. So as we go through our certification checklist and we check off how these measures are being met, we are able to capture metrics for the certification accomplishments. So for example, you'll see here, we are able to produce through our online tracking system, a report that shows how the environmental savings that the entity is going through. In this case, this is the cumulative savings from all of those libraries combined. And then we have some graphics to go along with that, and then some equivalent so that these numbers mean something. So you can see these numbers here in terms of CO2 savings, total water savings, pounds of waste, et cetera. And so the libraries are able to use this sort of easy to understand graphic to communicate their accomplishments with their community. Because you can see we have things like the equivalency. So you save some CO2 and it's the equivalent of planting 17 acres of urban trees, right? 5,897 pounds of waste. That might not mean much, but it's the equivalent of, oh, well, that number's not right, but it's equivalent of garbage trucks worth of diverted waste. I'm not sure why that number came out to zero, but we'll figure that out. So, and then as well as water savings. So you could see there's 30,000 gallons of water, the equivalent of 732 bathtubs of fresh drinking water. Okay, so those are some of the cumulative results you could see. And then the next slide, please. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is libraries as resiliency hubs. So resiliency hubs are a new concept that people may have heard about coming out of the climate crisis and out of the COVID crisis. It's something that has been put out by several groups, one of which is the Urban Sustainability Directors Network. And the idea is that sustainability is, to a large extent, comparable to resiliency. So sustainability, equals resiliency. So in many ways, we see the COVID-19 pandemic as a test run for climate change. So the resiliency measures that businesses need to take to survive the COVID pandemic are similar to those types of measures that need to be taken to deal with climate change. So, and libraries serve as an important role for the community and can serve as important resiliency hubs for the community. So for example, things like energy. So these are things that the library would look at internally, but also things that they could provide for the community. So backup power, solar generation, water, right? During water shortages. So we're looking at rainwater capture, gray water recycling. Clean air is important both for COVID as well as the increased incidence of fires that are a result of climate change. So looking at clean air filtration systems, heating as we deal with increased heat waves and heat emergencies. So having efficient cooling systems, places where people in the community can actually come to cool off when we have these heat waves. Flood control, food, having community gardens associated with the libraries, flooding, looking at groundwater infiltration, so how to collect flood water and infiltrate it into the ground. And then of course, information. So communications both out to the community, as well as serving as like a digital online backup hub for people that have lost their communications in their homes or in their place of business, that the library offers that opportunity for them to communicate both personally and for their business operations. So you can find more information about this at resiliency-hub.org, but I just wanted to introduce this concept because as we promote sustainability, again, resiliency is really like another piece of sustainability that we are really starting to focus on in the face of COVID pandemic, additional pandemics that we may undergo in the next several years, and most importantly, climate change. So next slide, please. Okay, so I want to wrap it up there and open it up for questions. And while I'm doing so, I just want to put up this slide so you can see a list of some of the other libraries around the state of California that have undergone the Green Business Certification process, assessed their environmental practices, and gained the various benefits of doing so that I described in the presentation.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. We have just about a minute or so for questions, which I know people have many questions, but I am gonna just encourage everyone to make sure you do watch that recording and share it with those in your system. I will also be making sure that all of these resources will be shared on our website. But if anyone does have any questions and wants to unmute just about real quick, Miguel, I see you have a quick question about how long does certification take?
Quick answer, anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months is our target. 6 months is sort of the max that we would really like to take to get it done. Recognizing that there's sometimes various constraints to undergoing this process. There's interdepartmental coordination, and sometimes it can be more complicated, but that would be our goal.
I appreciate that you've worked with libraries, both county, city, and other, that really give some weight to your recommendations. And I really appreciate all of your sharing that you've done today. And I think this is just the start of a longer conversation that across the state, California is going to be continuing in. Many climate resilience or community resilience hubs are forming. There's so many projects that are coming up, and we are excited to stay in touch, and we can continue the conversation and chat because I want to keep us on time and on track. Unless you had any last words real quick, Lawrence.
I just want to, well, I saw some quick thing about Board of Supervisors. The answer is yes. In the case of San Mateo County, the Board of Supervisors is a direct supporter of our certification process. They actually sign the certificates that get hung in the library. So absolutely, supervisors are very important. They provide funding for the project as well. I want to just quickly say that my email is in the chat, as well as the Green Business website. So I encourage folks to go to the website, peruse the website. If you want to start the process, you can register right there. It doesn't commit you to completing the process, but it gives you access to the checklist. So you can even just play around with the checklist because it is a helpful template for looking at your own, sustainability planning. And feel free to email me directly with any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lawrence. I'm going to pass it over now to Sarah Solis from the County of San Diego.
Hi, everyone. So real quick, while Holly's pulling those slides up, I'm hopeful that this presentation will maybe give some nuts and bolts to some of the stuff that Lawrence is talking about. So San Diego has really been a leader in a lot of the resiliency and sustainability. Holly, I can see my next slide up here too, which is fine if you can't fix that. Otherwise, people are going to get a sneak peek before I get to share the information. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. So I'm really, really proud and honored to share today some of the initiatives that San Diego is working on. We have a really incredible partnership with a lot of our sister departments. So Dorothy, you asked a great question about partnerships. So maybe there will be some information here that is helpful. Holly, go ahead and next slide, please. So San Diego and all San Diego libraries are now required to be zero net energy. So before I explain what that means really quickly, all new library buildings are designed to be zero net energy and LEED Gold. So Alpine, Imperial Beach, Borrego, and Lakeside is about 6 months away from opening its doors. They are all designed LEED Gold and are zero net energy. The San Diego Libraries Master Plan takes a very strong stance on providing equitable locations, having sustainable footprints and building systems, and took a very data-driven planning approach. County of San Diego has a ton of goals and initiatives based on sustainability. They are so, they really want to be the leaders, in sustainability. And we have countless enterprise-wide efforts and initiatives happening right now. So I say that to say that the San Diego County Library System is incredibly lucky in that we have support from the Board of Supervisors all the way down. So zero net energy, really quick, is basically a building that's self-sustained and draws no energy from the grid. So we design our buildings in such a way that we have solar on the roof, we can add parking lot canopies if needed. All of our lighting is LED, and we've retrofitted about 11 of our existing branches to also be LED. We incorporate a ton of day lighting, so very large windows, clear story windows up high. Our architectural design really pulls in a lot of optimum sunlight. We also do sun studies, so we take into account how to position our building. Where will we get the most sun? How do we get our PV to pull as much from the environment as possible? And we rely on incredibly smart engineers to do our energy modeling and help drive that design for us. Our air conditioning systems in our newer buildings are what's called variable refrigerant flow, or VRF for those in the facilities world. We have tons of smart building automation systems. So not just in our new buildings, but again, we've retrofitted so many of our existing buildings to tie into these central building automation systems so that I can pick up a phone, log into the system, and see what's going on with an air conditioning system from anywhere. San Diego also uses HVAC set points. The benchmark is 69 to 72, and that helps us ensure that we are using the most efficient numbers according to the industry. We have electric water heating systems versus gas or propane in order to cut down on greenhouse gases, ensure that our building envelopes are super tight so we don't have any air intrusion. We've learned a lot of lessons since Alpine, which was several years ago now. The first year of commissioning is definitely kind of your point to figure out, did you do enough energy modeling? Do you need to go back and maybe tweak some things? So I would say anybody who's interested in this process, please reach out. San Diego is more than happy to share what we've learned in our last, let's say, 7 or 8 years of zero net energy buildings. Holly, next slide, please. So here's just a quick little infographic. San Diego is really focused on shifting from reduced electricity to reduced carbon. So the goal is ultimately to cut down on greenhouse gases, or in some buildings, potentially even have a goal of zero carbon. What this means for us is for major maintenance projects, let's say you have an air conditioning unit that was plugged into propane or a natural gas. Instead of replacing that for a like-for-like system, what we're doing is we're working with our building department and we're replacing those units with fully electric units. So it's kind of funny, you know, for so long we've focused on cutting down on electricity. Now we're kind of flipping this script because we realize that maybe it's better to use more electricity so that we're not pumping greenhouse gases into the environment. So Valley Center, I see our branch manager is here. Valley Center was our first library that we did an electrification of the HVAC. So all the units, we had 7 units in the library and we replaced every single one with electric units. So we're no longer creating any greenhouse gases coming out of that library. Next up, we're gonna have Julian and we'll do something similar. As Lawrence talked about, there is grant funding available. San Diego County Library works very closely with the San Diego Energy and Sustainability Division. She is a master at finding California state grants or reimbursements. So if anybody has questions, please reach out to me. I would love to connect you with her because there is funding available. There is money out there. You just have to know where to go to find it. Next slide, Holly. So some easy wins and low-hanging fruit. I really want to ask everyone here to think outside of programs and materials. Think about your building as a key component to your sustainability program. So San Diego Library actively partners with General Services, who oversees our building portfolio, our planning department, Department of Environmental Health. We have very strong relationships with SDG&E. They're our local utility company, and others in support of countywide and statewide goals and initiatives. We've really forced ourselves to have a seat at the table. We've pushed our way in, and libraries have a natural seat at the table and have a voice. So again, back to a couple of the questions in the chat, I'm happy to talk with people offline and kind of share some of the ways that we've done that. Connect with your building and your facilities department. Who is it that's taking care of your building? Is it a city? Is it, a different municipality? Connect with them and make sure that you have a voice and a relationship with them because your building is key. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, thermostat settings are super low hanging fruit. You can drive down your electric usage. You can really tighten up whatever your hours are based on your thermostat settings. Same with your lighting schedules. You can set your lights to shut off at a certain point. We do a ton of drought tolerant and native plant species. So our landscaping at all of our county libraries, and frankly, all of our county facilities in general, we really focus on those plants that are made for this area so that we are able to use less water. You won't find any tropical plants in any county property. We use drip systems or low water irrigation with smart controls that can sense when it's raining so that you don't have irrigation running when you've got, it's naturally raining outside. For waste, our new ILS, it's super cool. We are able to offer text and email notifications now. We don't have to print receipts. And about 70% of our customers have elected to get non-paper notifications. That's an easy way to cut waste right there. As far as furniture, we reupholster as often as possible. So instead of just chucking it in a landfill and buying something new, we work with local upholstery companies and we have them reupholstered. So not only are we reutilizing furniture that we already had, we're saving money by not buying new. And it's a great way to spruce up your building. You get to pick cool new patterns and furniture. It kind of feels like it's new. As far as emissions, again, I'm so proud of San Diego's leadership on this. And Miguel, I'm glad he's here. I get to give him a shout out too. Miguel has worked very hard to replace our diesel powered bookmobiles with fully EV mobile outreach vans. So these vans will be a fully electric fleet that will replace that diesel. So we're no longer, utilizing diesel to get around the county. And we get to use these as a marketing tool as well to show the rest of San Diego, hey, look what you can do if you go EV with your fleet. We have ensured that we have charging stations at some of our libraries. So we, again, with brand new buildings, we always ensure there's EV charging stations in those areas. And we are working with our fleet department and general services department to have them installed. Again, this is something that private businesses love to come in. They'll install them for free. They want to make money off of it. There is certain requirements as far as what they need for infrastructure, but there's ways to make it happen that you don't need to spend money on. Holly, next slide. Oh, Dorothy, I can't wait to answer that question. Sustainable Libraries Initiative certification. So again, shout out to Miguel. Sustainable Libraries Initiative is a program in New York. And what they saw was this lack of library-specific green voices. The sustainable certification that they've created is incredibly comprehensive. It covers everything from library school and everything you didn't learn in library school. Their mission statement is empowering library leaders to advance environmentally sound, socially equitable, and economically feasible practices to intentionally address climate change and co-create thriving communities. So I'm very, very proud that San Diego Library was the first system outside of New York to pursue this certification. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's 13 sections. There's about 215 different pieces to those sections. It covers everything from developing your sustainability team to getting buy-in from leadership, working on outdoor and indoor spaces. So some of the things that I shared earlier with building systems, energy and water usage, landscaping. How are you procuring your supplies? Is it a green company? Working with your purchasing department to ensure they're only buying what's green. Tons of information on transportation. And what I really love about this certification is that it's this holistic idea of sustainability. They have entire sections dedicated to collective impact, social cohesion, and resilience. So they have taken everything you can imagine with sustainability and they've put it into this certification. And it's just a really phenomenal certification program. This is really just a natural extension of San Diego's leadership. We just established a new vision for the county, a just and sustainable future for all. And this really just ties into all of that. Next slide, Holly. Juliana, I'm rushing. I'm trying to stick to your time. So if you guys have any questions, I've put my email here. I've also put the link to that Sustainable Libraries Initiative certification. Click around their website. Miguel and I have just launched this. The San Diego Library is going to take off with it. I can't wait to see, getting through it. It should take about 18 months or so just because it is so incredibly comprehensive. I cannot stress enough to everybody here. It is so important to remember that your building is a natural extension of your sustainability program. So whoever your facilities people are, whoever takes care of your buildings, make sure that those people not only know who you are, but that they think of you. When we have fires in San Diego, when we open a local assistance center, they come to the library because they know people come to the library for information, a place to go. There really isn't any other place where people can go for free for information. So make sure that the people who take care of your building know just how important the library is and all those services that you provide to your communities every single day. That's it for me, Juliana.
Thank you. I definitely feel like I was a little bit of too much of a time master. So there's lots going on in the chat, and I just wanted to acknowledge that we do have Miguel here. He is the director of San Diego County. If anyone is not familiar with him, and definitely San Diego sets a really high bar. And I wouldn't expect that every single city or county is there today or tomorrow, but I think we're all going to get there. And I think we're on this path together. I also see on the call still Crystal Duran, who was on another call. Was this yesterday, Crystal? Where we were talking about, something very similar. And I don't know if either of the directors, not to totally put you on the spot, but I will maybe a little bit. If you want to talk about, if you want to just mention anything, there is a movement in leadership, but sometimes the leadership is not the first to get there. And I think we're all going to get there. And it's so amazing to have leaders that are supportive and pushing us forward and really leading on the issue of sustainability and climate resilience. And I will also just open it up to anybody else who wants to unmute and ask a question, comments, or just do so in the chat. We have about 10 minutes max. And Sarah, if you want to answer anything else or speak to anything else in the chat, or Lawrence, if you're still on too, you can go ahead and unmute.
And I'm quickly cruising through. Dorothy, you asked about staff that work on this and only this. I see Miguel put something in here in chat, so I just want to expand on that a little bit. What's really nice for San Diego County is that the library has its own facilities team. So we have a team dedicated to taking care of all the day-to-day facilities needs. We oversee security guards. We look over air conditioning replacements. We build all the new branches. So anything regarding library facilities, there's a specific team in libraries that's working with all those other departments that Miguel mentioned. So we're very lucky in San Diego in that we have these incredibly strong partnerships. And those are not, they didn't fall in our lap. Some of those we did have to fight for some of those. So like with SDG&E, our, local utility company, it was a matter of building those relationships over time and ensuring that we had open communication and stuff like that. So I'll pause there in case you want to ask anything else.
Dorothy, nobody's low on the totem pole. I want to just say really quick, because it's going on in the chat too, that as I was listening to this and kind of thinking about everything here, that I think the certification through the California Green Business Network is a great way to sort of organize your thoughts and start to present this information to your administration if they're not coming to you, asking you to work on this. As a way to show value, to show impact, and then to work eventually towards that Sustainable Libraries Initiative certification, which is a much bigger, like in-depth library-specific program. One thing that I am going to mention, and then a second point to that is the Green Business Network. There's really no barriers to entry other than try to get on board and try to accomplish within these, set period of time. But for those of you who might be ready to take that next step, there is in the upcoming funding opportunities, there is an opportunity to use some of that funding for this certification process, which I am very excited about. So in addition to education and program support and supplies and all of that, that typically comes with the LSTA funding, that move to get your library certified and to move your whole department towards that green future, that support is included in the grant funding for those of you who might be interested. And then there's also many other tangential tie-ins here to other programs that are going on at the state library. Hello? And at different
hey, could you hold on a second?
Community-based organizations across the state. So there's definitely some link and tie-in. So I'm going to be quiet now. So anyone else who has any comments, questions, and I'll catch up with chat.
I would say if I can make a suggestion just for the folks here, I think just reaching out can be a little scary sometimes, not knowing exactly who the right person is. And I saw some stuff in the chat about, just struggling to get the buy-in. If anybody needs help really building a case, if you need someone who is passionate about how to get buy-in and how to advocate and maybe certain words to use, please reach out. I'm more than happy. I think it's so important for all the library systems, not just in California, but everywhere. Libraries play such an important part in the community, and I'm happy to help out any system who might need a little help or guidance or push or whatever it might be.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And Miguel, I see you have your hand raised.
I just wanted to offer a word of encouragement to Dorothy based on her chat. Dorothy, if you're not in senior level of administration of your library, nevertheless, you can have a leadership role of just making sure it's top of mind in whatever way that you can. And if you want to, I'm more than happy to talk with your director if that's something that they're interested in. We can share our experience and the benefits both to the environment and to the communities you serve.
Thanks so much, Miguel. And I want to just add that come next couple of weeks, we definitely will be sharing the information about the upcoming funding opportunity, not only with everyone in the California library community, but the directors, and making sure everyone is aware of what's going on and the opportunity to get involved and be part of the core group of library staff across the state that are working on this issue. And Lawrence, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in really quickly. Such a great presentation. It's so great to hear like the real deep dive and specifics of you know, what it actually means and some of the specific projects. I just wanted to put out that, you know, in terms of like green business and sustainable libraries initiative, I just want to echo what you said, Juliana. The green business may be a good kind of first step to organize you know, your thoughts, to use our online tracker, to get access to some free technical assistance with the Green Business Coordinator that can help you do that. And it's free of charge, and you know, it's right there. You can just sign up and access it. I also want to just want to say that there may be a really strong green business program in your community. So one of the reasons why we were so successful at the San Mateo County Library program is because there's a really active and robust green business program that has support from the Board of Supervisors. It's staffed by the Office of Sustainability at the county. So there's just, you know, there's already a lot of support and momentum and recognition. Plus, you know, we're able to provide the free services and consulting. So if there is a really active green business program in your community, I know there's some questions about like how to get political support. That may be kind of, you know, an angle, especially if it's something like San Mateo County that has support, you know, at the top level from the supervisors. So, and it may, you know, they may not be an active program in your community, but that would be, I think, a first thing to check because it may be helpful.
Absolutely. And we have about 1 minute left. So Kimberly, do you want to give us a quick wrap up about the report that you've been working on and when you think it's coming and what will be in there?
Sorry. yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, I've been working since the last several months. I started collecting research, and I started interviewing library folks across the state, which has been fantastic. And so I'm working on putting all of this together, stats from the surveys, you know, information from our networking sessions. And so I'll be working on that to pretty much share with everybody what libraries in California have been doing regarding sustainability and kind of like where we could go with that. And so this networking session just ties in really well with where we can go and how we can get there. And as you put in the chat, Juliana, is like, hopefully this is just the beginning. It's great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely, Crystal, let's talk. And everyone else, thank you so much for being here. Especially big thanks to Holly, who was our host, Sarah and Lawrence and Kimberly for sharing today. The recording will be posted soon, and please do check out the upcoming funding opportunity. Keep in touch, and thank you all.